네, 버나드 케인과 함께하는 미국 주식 시간. 저희 그동안 소개해드렸던 종목 베스트 탑5 살펴보고 오시죠. 네, 버니의 미국 주식 베스트 톱5입니다. TTD가 부동의 1위 자리를 놓치지 않고 있습니다. 더 트레이드 데스크가 방송일 종가 72.78달러였는데 상승률이 현재까지 34.2%입니다. 어제도 하루 동안 1.7% 오르면서 종가 97.68달러에서 거래 마쳤습니다. 두 번째 종목 빌닷컴이고요. 방송일 종가 199달러라고 적혀 있습니다. 지금은 무려 253달러까지 올라갔고요. 현재까지 상승률 26%로 집계되고 있습니다. 자, 세 번째 종목 스노우플레이크고 이 스노우플레이크라는 종목도 계속해서 탑5 안에 계속 유지를 좀 해주는 모습입니다. 방송일 종가 기준 298달러, 현재까지의 상승률은 18%고요. 어제는 351.99달러에서 거래를 마쳤습니다. 네 번째 종목은 9월 7일에 방송된 마이크로소프트입니다. 방송일 종가 300달러고요. 현재까지의 상승률 14.08%입니다. 마지막으로 AMN 헬스케어 서비스도 이번 달에 좀 새롭게 들어온 종목인데 계속해서 5위 자리를 유지해주고 있습니다. 상승률도 조금씩 키워가고 있는데 방송일 종가 109.35달러였고요. 현재까지의 상승률은 13.6% 기록하고 있습니다. 네, 이렇게 상승률이 좋은 종목들까지 살펴보고 돌아왔습니다. 저희가 그동안 정말 많은 종목들을 소개해드렸는데 오늘은 가상현실이나 메타버스에 꼭 필요한 보안 서비스에 대해서 좀 알아보도록 하겠습니다. 이 사이버 세상의 삶이 현실화되면서 보안도 그 무엇보다 중요한 시대가 왔는데 이 클라우드 보안 주식에 대한 설명을 또 오늘 준비해 주셨다고 하니까 지금 바로 설명 들어보도록 하겠습니다.
Okay, let's think about this. When we talk about stocks and what we've done before up and through till now is we typically identify a stock that I think can be a disruptor. Going forward can have significant outperformance over 3 to 5 years. So I don't typically talk about Ford Motor Company, GM, Procter & Gamble. I talk about companies that are going to go from here to here, have the potential, okay? And we monitor that potential. So we want to find companies like say, for example, Facebook was at the beginning, Google was at the beginning, where they are disruptors. They're changing the way we live our lives. And I think this whole cloud security business and the cloud business as a whole, the networking and all this, is going to be a big disruptor. So I picked a couple stocks. I picked two stocks that are really pretty good, CrowdStrike and Zscaler. And they're both stocks within the same industry. So, and they're stocks that I'm positive about. The industry I'm very positive about. So let's think about really kind of, these are growth stocks and what really happened. So when news first broke last November that we would likely have an effective vaccine for COVID-19, there was a knee-jerk negative reaction in many growth stocks. The idea at the time was that when the world returns to normal, many growth stocks that have done well during this whole period would start to falter a little bit as their growth rates would start to slow. Well, that thesis played out for only a little while, and then in the second half of 2021, those growth stocks came roaring back. And what we found is that the strongest growth stocks, the growth performing stocks, have been cloud stocks, cloud networking stocks, and cloud security stocks. Big picture, the reasons are twofold. The COVID-19 variants and the slow vaccine rollouts in areas of the world are prolonging the pandemic a little bit. And the other thing is the cyber attacks have surged. And I think that's just going to continue on and continue on. And as that's happening, the prices that the hackers are asking for have also surged. Cybersecurity is growing rapidly in importance. And as the recent Colonial Pipeline problem, ransomware attack that we had back in the second quarter of this year, and the SolarWinds hack have demonstrated. Cybercrime is big business. It's predicted that damages raising from theft of intellectual property and financial data to embezzlement and fraud will cost companies, utilities, governments worldwide $6 trillion in 2021. That's an enormous number. So there's so much potential to be able to get the cloud security companies, and basically if they can solve this problem or dampen this problem so that it's not a significant problem, they're going to explode. Now, the other thing that's really interesting about cloud security companies is when you have a company, say Ford Motors started, okay, and Henry Ford built cars, right? Well, he had to build manufacturing facilities. He had to tie in tons of raw material. It was a huge capital-intensive industry. Other industries that are capital intensive on the labor side, we have to think about, like all the restaurants and everything, they have all the costs of kitchens and restaurants and all that. But when we have these networking companies, okay, and these security companies, what's so great about these companies is revenue can go, it can accelerate tremendously, yet they don't have a ton of inventory. So it's not a high cost business, and then all of a sudden the world changes and they're stuck with bad inventory. So many times GM had a problem with cars, okay, and then they were slow to understand the development into SUVs and pickups more than cars, and they've got to retool all those plants. That's extraordinarily expensive. So when we think about cloud networking and network security and cloud security stocks, there's a great advantage here, and they can be a disruptor so quickly and so impactfully. Since the early days of the public internet, computer hackers have been causing trouble. The original internet worm, okay, was released by a Cornell University graduate student back in November of 1988. So that's 33 years ago. He took advantage of weaknesses in passwords and bugs in the software, and it resulted in the first denial of service attack, like Colonial Pipeline denial of service. So this overall has led to strong performances lately in cloud security stocks, which offers protection against attacks and deployment and management flexibility for clients owing to their cloud-based delivery models. So I want to look at two stocks and compare them. I very much like this sector, and these are two stocks that are great success stories.
네, 클라우드 보안 주식이 2021년 성장주 중에서 실적이 가장 좋았다고 말씀해 주셨습니다. 그만큼 사이버 보안에 대한 중요성이 부각되고 있는데 두 가지 종목 오늘 말씀해 주셨죠. 클라우드 스트라이크하고 이제 지스케일러입니다. 지금 지스케일러를 첫 번째로 살펴볼 텐데 어떤 경쟁력을 가지고 있을까요?
Zscaler has a market cap of, I think, around $48 billion. It went public about 3 years ago. The company is a provider of network security solutions for many of the biggest companies. Its software does things like replacing VPN applications and providing connections that are used to route traffic between organization headquarters and remote locations. Zscaler works in tandem with endpoint security services to help keep data secure. So there are other security services that you need, you just can't totally rely on Zscaler, but they're very good at what they do. They got started with software as a service product designed for cloud computing protection, but it has since added new internet security and end user monitoring products. End user monitoring is increasing with so many people now working from home or remote locations. Naturally, these services are in high demand during the pandemic. But Zscaler is one of those few high growth companies that's still enjoying accelerating growth lately. So clearly its product is roughly a $20 billion market, and it's working well within that market. Revenue was up 42% in 2020. Growth has accelerated through the first 3 quarters of this fiscal 2021, and it's reached 60% annualized this year. So that acceleration is going on. Over 450 of the Forbes Global 2000 companies use Zscaler. Although Zscaler is still operating at a loss, the business is scaling quickly and gearing its additional investment towards bolstering its presence in this ransomware space. Zscaler, as opposed to CrowdStrike, which we'll talk about, takes a cloud-based approach to cybersecurity. It's designed to protect company networks and assets even when employees are accessing them remotely, for example. Zscaler acts as a filter between a device and the internet to protect against cyber threats on the way to accessing assets online. Since it's cloud-based, it doesn't require any additional hardware or software installed on devices or on premises. However, when we think about this space, there's a lot of competition in this space. And Zscaler has some advantages because it's already acquired valuable customers that will likely be reluctant to switch providers, 450 of the Forbes Global 2000. It is also a very non-invasive product that doesn't require large-scale installations across company networks or devices, which makes the user experience rather seamless. And then finally, Zscaler is already recognized as the leader in this space, so it's in a strong position to advance in its business against other competitors.
네, 오늘 클라우드 보안 주식과 관련해서 지스케일러라는 종목에 대해서 설명 듣고 돌아왔습니다. 지금도 꾸준히 성장하고 있는 고성장주라고 하니까 앞으로도 기대 많이 해주시길 바라겠고요. 문자 받는 사람 샵 0082번으로 버니의 미국 주식이라고 문자 전송해 주시면 실시간으로 직접 소통해 보실 수 있습니다. 많은 참여 기다리고 있겠습니다.